welcome to the deep dive. Today we are strapping on some virtual boots, really.
Getting ready for the ultimate field trip, you could say.
Exactly. We're taking the world of the video game kingdom come. Deliverance II, the anticipated one, and, well, grounding it.
Grounding it in actual physical reality, using this really quite staggering 8K resolution map project.
A community map project, which is key. It's our guide today.
It really is a spectacular example. You know how gaming interest can genuinely drive historical preservation, tangible preservation.
So we're diving into this huge mapping effort. People literally walked, what was it, over 17 kilometers?
Yeah, 16.7, almost 17 kilometers of sacred ground, strategic locations, incredibly wealthy historical terrain.
And the goal?
Well, the goal was to document the real historical region that's so central to the game's politics, Kutná Hora, basically, and its surroundings.
Okay, let's unpack that straight away. Because, you know, for a lot of listeners, the KCD world, it starts in Skalitz, maybe Rattay.
Right, that's where the story kicks off for Henry.
But our sources are really clear on this. While the game's narrative might start there, the absolute heart of the political storm, the economic power...
The engine, really.
Yeah, the engine driving King Sigismund's desire for control. That was always Kutná Hora, the silver powerhouse.
Precisely. And we need to frame this right. It's not just drawing lines on a map.
No.
It's mapping high-stakes political economy. Kutná Hora was the engine. That silver wealth, that's what fueled the conflicts in 15th century Bohemia.
So the area they mapped, Kutná Hora and Malešov,
yeah,
that's what this group, Digisolu, identified.
Yeah, Digisolu, they tagged it as the crucial geographical core, the, quote, KCD2 region, so to speak.
Okay. So our mission for this deep dive then is to follow their footsteps, follow this blue line.
Exactly, we'll trace that path.
We're going to explore the 4 key historical spots this nonprofit Digisolu they meticulously captured.
And these places, they represent, you know, the extremes: power, labor, piety, warfare.
All of it. And we also need to appreciate the tech, right? The innovation that lets you see it all on, well, just regular Google Street View.
It's pretty amazing. A journey into the past, but guided by, like, 21st century citizen science.
Right, let's get into the nuts and bolts first, the logistics. Because this sounds like a massive undertaking, physically and technically.
Oh, it was. Digisolu, this nonprofit, basically a community group. They did the hard yards.
Walking and mapping nearly 17 kilometers of roads.
Yeah. And we're talking dedicated people carrying some pretty serious gear for miles and miles.
That's commitment.
It's intense. And you have to look at their motivation. It wasn't just, you know, let's map some cool stuff.
Right.
It had a clear public service goal. Their mission statement, it's quite telling.
What does it say?
To make Google Maps better so that no pilgrim gets lost.
Pilgrim. That's an interesting word choice.
It is, isn't it? It connects their modern work right back to historical travel, to pilgrimage.
So they're not just making pretty pictures. They're genuinely improving navigation, showing footpaths.
Exactly. Better showing existing paths, boosting local tourism, making these historical areas more digitally accessible.
And they had to step in because, well, the big guys weren't doing it.
Pretty much. That's where their tagline comes in. I love this.
Good one.
You can't order a Google car. You can order Digisolu.
Huh. Brilliant. Simple, a bit rebellious, highlights why they were needed.
It really sums it up, doesn't it? The practical alternative. Google cars, they stick to the roads.
Right, the paved roads.
They completely miss the historically vital footpaths, the steep stairs, the narrow alleys, the specific viewpoints.
All the stuff you actually need to understand the place properly.
Absolutely essential for a tourist or a historian to really get the terrain. By walking it, they captured that granularity.
Which is crucial in a place like Kutná Hora, I imagine. All hills and hidden bits.
Exactly, where elevation and hidden paths basically dictated medieval life.
Okay, let's talk tech, because this is where maybe this community project really steps up. The resolution they used.
Yeah, this is the kicker. 8K.
8K. That's huge. That's a massive amount of data.
It's what makes this project genuinely exceptional. You know, if you zoom into a standard street view image...
Yeah, it gets blurry fast. Pixelated mess.
Right. But 8K, the detail is immense. You can zoom right in and see the texture of medieval stone, carvings on a gate, maybe even read faded signs.
Things that would just be a blur otherwise.
Completely illegible at lower resolution. So for you, the learner, trying to soak up that historical context, that visual clarity, It's priceless.
I mean, that's just wild. Think about the challenge, though. Walking 17 kilometers carrying 8K gear.
Yeah, the logistics.
A multi-lens camera rig, stabilization, GPS, huge storage, all strapped to your back.
It requires serious dedication, more than just a hobby.
Physically demanding, surely, especially on old paths.
Oh, incredibly taxing. Uneven ground, maybe climbing, but also critically managing power.
Ah, battery life.
An 8K system, recording 360 video constantly, it just eats battery power.
So they had to plan meticulously. Routes, storage space.
Terabytes of data, enough battery packs to cover the whole route, maybe in one go. High stakes.
And that's just capturing it. Then there's the post-processing, stitching it all together, making it work with Google.
Absolutely. That's a whole other mountain to climb. The raw footage needs careful stitching for that seamless 360 sphere.
Getting the GPS data right.
Accurate GPS integration, yeah. Then compressing it so Google accepts it, but without losing that 8K quality.
Wow. Okay, so this entire body of work, the processed HD community map stuff, that's the blue line.
That's the one. The blue line, or Modra Linka in Czech. That's their term for it.
And the best part for you, listening at home, you don't need special software.
Nope. That's the beauty of using Google Maps as the platform.
It's all accessible right there.
Totally standard. You just go to Kutná Hora on the map, look for the little yellow guy, the Panachic icon.
And click on the blue lines on the paths.
And boom, you're instantly inside the 8K footage. Virtually walking exactly where the mappers walked. Ground level view of this crucial 15th century world.
Okay, let's start our virtual walk. Where better than the absolute center of Bohemian power and wealth? Stop one. The Italian court. Vlašský dvůr.
Yes. If Henry's story in the game is all about the Hussite Wars, the fight for Bohemia, well, this building is why there was a fight.
It's the prize.
It absolutely embodies the economic stakes. It wasn't just an important building, it was the actual mechanism of state finance.
This is where the groschen were made. The coins Henry picks up.
The very ones actually minted right here. Our sources are clear. Controlling this mint was the #1 political goal for guys like King Sigismund.
Okay, but why Italian court? What's the story there?
The name tells its own story, really. About the early global economy, you could say.
How so?
Well, silver mining was huge, but the really sophisticated minting process. Bohemia didn't initially have that top-tier expertise.
So they imported talent.
Exactly. King Wenceslaus II invited specialized mint masters, mostly from Florence, maybe Venice too, Italians.
Hence the name.
Right. And the Vlašský dvůr was designed basically as a fortress, influenced by these foreign experts. It centralized everything, checking silver purity, stamping the coins, all in one highly secure spot.
Total control. The king's monopoly on making money. Literally.
Symbolized right there in stone. Absolute centralized power.
And this is where that Digisolu mapping really demonstrates its value, isn't it? Not just snapping the front door.
Absolutely. This is a perfect proof of concept for their whole project.
How? What was it like before?
Before they mapped it, the paths in the park and the terraces just below the main building, the Vlašák, well, Google Maps showed they barely existed.
Just a green space, maybe?
Pretty much.
Okay.
If you wanted to navigate the different viewing areas or the gardens digitally, you were just guessing. It wasn't mapped.
And now, after Digisolu walked
Oh, it's all there. Meticulously mapped. The narrow paths, the little hidden corners or nooks in the old walls, the specific stairs up to the gazebo.
the viewing platform.
Yeah, that one. And all the different levels around the court. They basically turned this complex, three-dimensional historical space into a usable digital map.
Meaning anyone, a tourist planning a visit, or even someone imagining Henry sneaking around.
Yeah. No Henry will get lost there now.
Yeah.
You can navigate the scale of this medieval power center accurately.
And that focus on elevation, complexity, that's key. You mentioned they also captured the surrounding views.
Yes, the panorama. Gives you context. You can see how the court relates to the older Frodic fortress nearby.
Reinforces the defensive setup.
And the Jesuit college, which came later. Seeing that shows how the silver wealth kept funding huge building projects, religious, civic, military for centuries.
Context is everything.
It is. And this specific mapping, the Italian court area, we know that was done in January 2023, capturing the architecture of power in 8K.
Right, now let's pivot. We're moving from the shiny center of power and money
So the counting house.
to the harsh reality of the labor that created all that wealth. Stop 2. St. Barbara's Church and Chriselle.
Yeah. The shift is pretty stark. The luxury of the court only existed because of the grit and danger faced by the mining community.
And while the game, KCD, might put early action near Skalitz.
Which definitely had silver, no doubt.
The real industrial heart, the mother lode, was Kutná, right next to Kutná Hora.
That was the geological jackpot, the source. The silver practically poured out of Cowick. Immense wealth.
And St. Barbara's Church.
Yeah.
It's a direct tribute to that work, isn't it?
It's a monumental statement of faith tied directly to the mining industry. It's one of the most incredible Gothic churches in Central Europe, just breathtaking.
Dedicated specifically to St. Barbara.
The patron saint of miners. It stands there, huge, towering, as this profound acknowledgement of the incredibly dangerous, difficult work happening underground.
The work that literally paid for the kingdom.
It shows how tightly wealth, labor, and faith were woven together back then, completely inseparable in the medieval mind.
So Digisolu mapped all around the church, the Jesuit college next door. But there's one specific path related to kayak that really stands out.
Yeah, they captured what they called the miner's view.
Okay, tell me about that.
They deliberately mapped a particular path that runs from Kashil down towards, well, a modern housing estate now.
Interesting. Why that path specifically?
Here's the subtle genius of their choice. This route gives you what they describe as an amazing panorama of the city.
Ah, the view from the miner's perspective.
Exactly. It might not be the only path miners used historically, but it offers that specific perspective looking down from the high ground onto the city their sweat and sacrifice built.
The view they'd have had coming off a brutal shift underground.
Precisely. Emerging from the dark, dangerous mines into the light and seeing Kutná Hora spread out below them.
So the mapping project is prioritizing that historically resonant viewpoint, even if the path itself has modern elements now.
That's a really key distinction, yeah. They're focusing on the emotional and visual connection to the past.
The landscape view.
That panoramic vista of Kutná Hora that hasn't fundamentally changed since the 15th century. It lets you really appreciate the scale of the city they built.
Labor looking down upon the wealth it generated.
That critical perspective and that view, that specific path, was mapped in February 2023.
Okay, shifting again. From labor, maybe to final rest. Our next stop gets deep into the atmosphere of the region.
Yeah, this one's famous.
For listeners who know the game, maybe the vibe of the Sazava Monastery. The Sedlec Ossuary, the Kosnais, takes that whole macabre atmosphere like way further.
Oh, definitely. The Sedlec Ossuary is world famous for a reason, but the history behind it is just staggering.
It's the bone church, right?
That's the one. It holds the skeletons of, estimates vary, maybe 40,000 to 70,000 people.
Incredible numbers. Where do they all come from?
Many from the big plague epidemics in the 14th century, and then also casualties from the Hussite wars themselves.
Right, the conflict central to KCD.
Exactly. And it's not just bones piled up. They're arranged. Chandeliers made of bones, coats of arms.
It's an artistic, if deeply unsettling, confrontation with mass death.
A powerful memento mori, remember you must die, sitting right outside the wealthy city center. A stark reminder that all the silver, all the power, it's temporary.
What's really interesting about the blue line mapping here, though, is that it captures it as a dynamic site, not just a relic.
Exactly right. When they mapped around the monument, this was also February 2023, the view actually shows the ossuary undergoing reconstruction work.
Ah, so you see scaffolding, maybe building materials.
Precisely. And that's important for anyone interested in preservation or even just planning a visit. It shows these ancient sites need constant upkeep.
It's a living historical artifact, not just sealed off.
Not a museum piece in a vacuum. It takes immense resources skill. It grounds it in the present day, too.
But let's be real. After contemplating, 70,000 skeletons,
You might need a coffee.
you might need a strong coffee and maybe a cake. And Digisolu captured that modern reality too, didn't they?
They did, and it's essential for a useful map today. They highlight the juxtaposition right there, the nearby Coffee Hood Cafe.
So you can literally see the cafe on the map next to the ossuary.
Yep. The mapping shows modern travelers chilling out with fancy coffees and homemade desserts, right next door to this profoundly somber ancient place.
It perfectly sums up heritage tourism, doesn't it? Reflecting on the past, then needing a modern comfort.
And crucially for the map user, the traveler, you know exactly where you can stop, rest, and process it all.
Okay, final nap location for this deep dive. We're moving away from the city center now into military history. the road to Malešov.
Right. This involves a bit of a virtual trek. It's about 14 kilometers walk from Kutná Hora.
Following old routes known for mills, the Malaysia.
Yeah, and crossing the Velký Rybník, the large pond, heading towards the village of Malešov.
And Malaysia is significant because
This path sets the stage for a really pivotal moment in the Hussite Wars. A treat for military history buffs, the famous Battle of Malešov,
when was that?
1424. Now, the key thing here is the timing. KCD2, Henry's story, often seems set around the earlier phase, the turn of the century, the initial chaos. The Battle of Malešov is just a few years after those likely game events. It's when the legendary Hussite general, Jan Žižka,
The one-eyed, later blind military genius.
that's him, he delivered an absolutely crushing defeat to the more conservative Catholic forces, the ones known as the Praguers.
So walking this route on the Blue Line map, you're essentially tracing the path soldiers would have marched, heading towards a major battle.
You are absolutely walking the approach routes, and you're seeing the terrain that enabled a masterclass in medieval tactics.
Even though Žižka was completely blind by 1424.
Yes, which makes his victory even more astounding. He was a strategic genius. Malešov is famous because he used the local terrain, hilly, uneven ground around the town brilliantly.
His signature tactic.
The vozová hadba, the wagon forts,
Can you quickly explain those? They sound fascinating.
they were basically mobile fortresses. The Hussites would chain heavy farm wagons together, often in a circle or square.
Creating instant walls.
Instant high ground, yeah. Reinforced wagon walls protected their infantry, their handgunners, from cavalry charges, which were usually decisive back then.
So how did he use them at Malešov?
He used the terrain, lured the Praguers into an uphill attack, then reportedly unleashed heavy wagons filled with stones down the slope into their ranks.
Chaos.
Utter chaos smashed their lines, caused panic before his main infantry even fully engaged. The route Digisolu mapped lets you see the topography that made that possible.
Understanding the landscape is understanding the battle.
Absolutely. And that mapping, the route to Malešov, was done in May 2023. It specifically ends right at the local church and school in Malešov town.
Marking the destination, the historical endpoint of that march and battle. All right, let's talk about some of the unexpected finds. The details a regular tourist map would definitely miss. This Sedlec Fair anomaly sounds fun.
Yeah, this is one of the most charming bits of the whole project, I think, really telling.
What happened?
In April 2023, Digisolu went out and mapped the Sedlec Fair, which is, a completely modern, temporary event. Rides, stalls, crowds.
Okay, and where was it held?
Right next to the medieval Sedlec Monastery and the ossuary.
So you've got this ancient, somber site, and right beside it, a bright, noisy, modern fair.
Exactly. Capturing that contrast, that snapshot of present-day life happening right alongside deep history, that shows the Blue Line isn't just about the 15th century, it's mapping the reality of the place today.
And they made a specific claim about this capture, didn't they?
They did. They believe, and it seems likely, that this is the only fair, a temporary dynamic event like that in the whole Czech Republic that you can actually walk through virtually on Google Street View.
That's pretty unique. Must have been tricky to capture.
Think about it. Lots of movement, people everywhere. They needed quick captures to avoid excessive blurring, but also the privacy aspect.
Right, hundreds of people on rides at stalls.
You need to manage that carefully, and this is where the community aspect shines again.
How so?
There's this great anecdote. The mapper, apparently a Kutná Hora local, was actually asking people on the ground.
Checking with them.
Yeah, like, hey, can you check the blurring on your face? Or, are you okay being visible on that ride in the background?
That's amazing. Direct interaction, ethical accountability, not just an anonymous Google car driving by.
Exactly. He shows respect for the people in that living moment they were capturing digitally, a moment of modern life preserved in high def.
Beyond the fair, you mentioned a couple of other specific points they mapped that offer sort of hidden views, things off the main track.
Yeah, two really good examples of enriching the map beyond the obvious tourist stops.
That's the first one.
A really unique perspective on the Kutná Hora skyline. They mapped a walk that involved going alongside the train tracks.
Okay, slightly unconventional.
And over the historic bridge near the edge of the city, this gives you a view you just cannot get from a public road.
What does it show you?
You really appreciate how the city sits dramatically on its hills, how the medieval core relates visually to the modern infrastructure like the railway. Gives you a sense of scale you'd otherwise miss.
Walking near train tracks for the perfect shot. That's real dedication to the cause.
It really is.
And the other notable hidden detail they mapped. something connecting different eras.
That would be Václav Havel's bench.
Ah, the famous Czech playwright and president.
Yes. They mapped the bench itself and the area around it near St. James Church, Svatého Jakuba. This was mapped in March 2023.
Why is mapping his bench significant there?
Well, Havel represents modern Czech democracy, dissent against communism, philosophy, placing that symbol, his bench, right next to a massive medieval church funded by silver wealth.
It creates a timeline right there.
Exactly. It visually connects the flow of Bohemian and Czech history and culture, from the 15th century struggles straight through to the modern era's fight for freedom. It adds another layer.
Okay, so we've got these incredibly detailed 8K maps, battlefields, quirky modern fairs, philosophical benches. How can listeners actually play with this? You mentioned something.
Yeah, this is brilliant. Digisolu created companion content. They built a GeoGuessr map.
GeoGuessr, the game where you're dropped somewhere random in Street View and have to figure out where you are.
That's the one. But this map uses 24 specific recognizable locations pulled directly from their Blue Line mapping project in Kutná Hora.
Oh, cool. So you can test yourself, see if you recognize places from this discussion.
Exactly. Test your navigation skills, your historical knowledge, interact directly with that 8K scenery, all from your web browser. It turns this amazing historical archive into a fun educational game.
Very smart. Okay, so pulling it all together then.
Yeah.
We've seen the huge effort, the history, the tech. Why does this whole Digisolu project matter to, the average person listening, the potential visitor, the armchair historian? What's the real value?
It really comes down to, I think, transparent tourism and making informed choices. Digisolu strongly believes, and it makes sense, that mapping new, high-quality street view images directly helps tourism develop.
By letting people see before they go.
Precisely. If you're planning a trip, maybe a holiday or just a weekend away, to Kutná Hora, you can now virtually walk the exact path you're considering.
Check the accessibility, maybe. See how steep that hill really is.
Exactly. Understand the terrain, judge the slope, see the current condition of sites like the Sedlec Ossuary during its reconstruction.
It's like a super detailed, hyper-local accessibility check before you even book anything.
That's a great way to put it. For anyone with mobility concerns or families wondering if a path is suitable, this visual transparency is invaluable. It removes the guesswork from old, blurry maps.
Lets people decide confidently if they want to spend their time and money there.
It empowers the tourist, basically. Community geography empowering the global traveler.
And it sounds like this isn't a one-off project. They're planning more. The Blue Line will grow.
It seems so. They've explicitly said, more expeditions coming soon. They encourage people interested in mapping to follow them, and they even offer their services to local councils or businesses.
So if Google won't map your important local path,
maybe Digisolu will. It shows that if the big tech giants don't prioritize these vital historical footpaths, dedicated communities can and will step in.
filling the gaps, ensuring digital geography actually reflects human interests and historical value.
Keeping it responsive, yeah. #outro.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Kutná Hora's Blue Line. We've really bridged that gap, haven't we, between the fictional world of KCD2 and the very real 8K reality of 15th century Bohemia.
We really have. We followed that trail right from the Italian court.
The seat of silver power, yeah.
To the incredible St. Barbara's Church, that amazing tribute to the miners up on Kak.
We explored the unique atmosphere of the Sedlec Ossuary, the Bone Church.
And navigated those strategic paths towards Malešov, where Janishka had his famous victory, just after the likely time frame of Henry's initial story.
It's just an incredible achievement, isn't it? Blending that gamer enthusiasm with serious historical context and cutting-edge mapping tech.
Undeniably. Capturing nearly 17 kilometers in that resolution, Digisolu's created this unparalleled digital resource. It helps you understand why this region was such a big deal, the focal point of a kingdom.
And this whole effort, it lets us do more than just, follow a line on a map.
Much more.
It lets you, the listener, walk virtually in the footsteps of a character like Henry, but at the same time, see the precise ground-level reality.
The reality faced by the actual power brokers, the miners doing the hard labor, the soldiers on those battlefields that defined 15th century Bohemian life.
It connects the fiction to the tangible past.
And that raises a really interesting final thought, doesn't it? Something for you, the listener, to maybe chew on as you explore these maps yourself.
Go on.
When a community-driven, hyper-detailed digital map like this Blue Line becomes, potentially, the main way people navigate and understand a complex historical area, what does that actually change?
about the authority of history itself.
Yeah. Does the future of how we preserve and interpret history now lie more with these dedicated citizen mappers rather than just traditional institutions?
Who gets to draw the map of the past?
Exactly. Something to ponder next time you open Google Maps and follow a blue line.